r/ask Reddit. What's something the internet killed that you miss? Having a mental catalog of great jokes that most people hadn't heard. It was so much fun to drop a few at parties and get some laughs. I remember how people like that were always the best to have around. They were like joke wizards. That was me. Now it only works with my parents and other baby boomers. If you were exceedingly dumb or had terrible ideas, your reach was really only your direct circle of friends. Now idiots can broadcast their ideas across the planet with a click. The village idiots have gone global. And now they can congregate. I'm seeing a few people say movie rental stores. I think specifically the moment when mom and dad say let's go rent movies tonight and you knew you were in for a night of staying up late and eating junk food. Those were the days, man. Note, my first silver. Note 2, man oh man, my first gold. I knew Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back was going to positively impact my future. Yep. My parents would give us a rating limit and let each of us choose one so we could watch them during the weekend. It was always a fight to the death who got their movie Friday night. I'm glad most of us grew up together in a way. I get tired of hearing insane stories of meth head parents or creepy cousins or whatever. Blockbuster movie night is as nostalgia inducing as it gets. Video game secrets. It was really cool hearing kids talk about if you beat every person in a row without losing, you fight a secret boss in Street Fighter 2. And the only way you'd actually know for sure is if it happened in front of you and being the first to speed news of secrets and Easter eggs among your group of friends. Now you can look up whatever you want to know, and where to find any object in almost every game there is. I miss playground rumors, and when games had genuine mystery. Did you know, if you beat Metroid fast enough, Samus takes off all of her clothes? Her clothes depending on the people. That alone would have been a fight. Very few people actually finished that game. User-generated web content with no thought to advertising. Search engine optimization. Monetizing. SEO is an industry I would love to see die in a fire. It has the worst incentives. It encourages people to make garbage content stuffed with keywords and other tricks. I've seen people here on Reddit complain about how recipe sites have lots of bullshit fluff content. That is entirely due to SEO. It also encourages an entire scam industry of people who claim to know all the new tricks whenever Google decides to change their opaque processes algorithms. I've seen small business owners fork over thousands of dollars for SEO. Yes, screw SEO. Edit. Had no idea people would feel so passionately about SEO. I have received roughly the same number of responses defending SEO as responses saying it needs to go DIAF. I won't dispute that there are honest and reputable people out there who do SEO as part of their job. But I have encountered exactly 0 companies who specialize in SEO that were honest. It is those companies that are the target of my ire as opposed to the practice of optimizing content for search engines itself. Sorry, too many bad actors and foul players have ruined my trust of any company that sells SEO services. I maintain some sites where I work. The marketing area gives up a few points on SEO. Just the standard ones, like keywords, page title, H1, H2, H3 etc. We do not really use tricks ourselves. I read many travel sites, and you get these pages that give vague general information that isn't really of any use. Then at the bottom of the page, links to commercial tours, agencies, etc. A lot of travel pages do waffle on, which I find annoying. I wish they would just get to the point. Open bracket. Except their point is probably to sell you stuff. There is now a work culture of always being reachable by email or text for whatever happens. A lot of places expect you to be pretty much on call even when you're not at the office anymore. I worked at an ad agency where days off sometimes didn't even feel like that, because I would still be getting emails about things and was expected to be checking them. There should be some level of balance between work and personal life, and I feel like that is fading because so many places are adapting this type of culture, especially startups. I used to work at an accounting firm where that was the expectation. Never again. That shouldn't be acceptable. It isn't at my office. I'd never be okay with the boss calling me after work hours except in very rare circumstances. Got to have a work-life separation. France, I think looking at making that illegal. Saturday morning cartoons. As I get older, I realize the ritual of a thing is just as important as the actual thing itself. It's not just about the cartoons. Watching them as an adult, many of the cartoons from the 80s and early 90s were terrible. Rather, it was the event of Saturday morning cartoons that I miss. My daughters can watch whatever they want whenever they want to watch it. They don't know what it is like to have to wait for a week for a new episode. They usually just binge their shows whenever they want. If my kids want to spend the entire weekend watching My Little Pony, they can. And they can do it the week after. 2. They don't know what it is like to miss an episode of Power Rangers because it was now scheduled at 7 AM instead of 6:30 and I had to leave for school. They also don't have to watch TV together. They can just watch whatever on their phones or tablets or on the TV in the living room. Nothing, except my wife and I, stop them from consuming the specific entertainment that they want. Edit. A stray period was bugging me. Saturday morning cartoons. As someone who grew up in the 70s and 80s, you said it. I was always up before cartoons came on. At 7 o'clock, there was some kind of animal show on at 6 AM. Then at 6:30, In the News came on. At 7 AM, The Super Friends came on. When that was over, I changed over to ABC to watch Scooby-Doo. Saturday morning cartoons were great. You couldn't see them any other day of the week. If you missed them, you had to wait a whole week before it was back on. Same thing with the holiday specials. If you missed it, you had to wait an entire year before you could see it again. No VCRs or anything to record it. You just had to wait. The Halloween cartoons were the ones I liked the most. It just wasn't Halloween unless you saw It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown and Disney's Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Man, I miss those days. Don't forget Kung Fu Theater. Late Saturday morning to early afternoon. My dad says he misses having arguments with friends which could only be resolved by phoning whoever was most knowledgeable on a subject. E.g., did you know lightning travels upwards? No, it goes down. Let's phone your dad. He's a meteorologist. I miss that, the sense of wonderment and imagining how something could work. Now, I can instantly end it with a search. I also miss the simplicity of doing something. For so many things, I find myself researching the multitude of ways to tackle something and feeling overwhelmed. Before, it would be one way, from a book. Yep, so many good conversations lost to just Google it. Just going over to your friend's house or the park unannounced to see if they were there and hang out. I miss this. When you had to physically go hunt your friend down and link all the clues you had together. Like, well, her mom said she left for the corner store like 10 minutes ago, but her bike is parked at the river so she probably took X path to get there and blah 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 until you found them, lol. Now if you try to do this, you just find out they're busy with something else, or they get weirded out like you're trying to stalk them. Yard sales, garage sales and flea markets. People still have them, but it's way harder to find stuff at a good price. eBay and Amazon have ruined that, because everybody just looks up what things are selling for, and sometimes eBay is ridiculously inflated. I found a rare Nerf gun that we had been looking for at a flea market once, and the lady was charging $150, because that was the going rate on eBay. People are always selling action figures in crappy condition for $20, because they don't realize that that price is mint in box, and all of the arms and legs are required. Like, I just wanna grab a TMNT toy for my kids. I'm not paying $20 for your broken toy. It used to be about persistence and digging up a good deal somewhere. Now, I may as well just buy it off of eBay. The cost is the same and my house smells better than most of the people at the flea markets. People throwing garage sales don't seem to understand that garage sales are meant for getting rid of unwanted stuff. Getting money for it is just a bonus. You need to price that stuff at the point where you get a little something, but it still flies off the table or you gotta be open to haggling. If you want top dollar, go on Craigslist, price it fairly, and drop the price gradually until it's gone. I once saw a printer laying on the side of the road in the rain. A few days later I went to a yard sale across the street from where I saw said printer and there it was with a $200 tag on it. It still had the mud and pine needles on it. At a garage sale I'm not paying more than $50 for a working printer. Edit. 20 years ago I spent $40 on a high performance office laser printer which at the time turned out to be worth around $1,500. No, I'm not shelling out $50 for someone's old broken inkjet. You can stop telling me I'm crazy for spending so much. Not all printers are the same and sometimes you can get a really good deal. At Disneyland, after you had ridden on the Haunted Mansion ride, you could ask a member of staff to provide you with a special secret death certificate to say that you died on the ride. Obviously it's not legally binding. It was a secret, but when I was younger and visited Disneyland my mother heard someone request it, and after asking them about it, then we all got one. Unfortunately, with the advent of the internet the secret got out and too many people were asking for death certificate. So Disney in their infinite wisdom scrapped the little Easter egg. I've since lost mine and had one day hope to get one for my child. Edit. I did not expect this comment to blow up. Thanks for the silver and all the tricks to try if I ever go back there. Not legally binding? That's bullshit. I heard Disney had to scrap a talking trash can because it got out on the internet as well. BBS systems. When I was a kid there were local bulletin board systems. We chatted, we left messages, arranged Doom death matches and played door games. Then you'd see those people in real life, at school and user meetups. It was all local. That's how I met my husband. We met through his BB when we were 16. Been married now 18 years. Together for 23 years. I met this girl in school by leaving tiny messages written on the corner of the classroom table where the cleaner would often miss them. She was morning class, I was afternoon. We went from that to leaving actual letters tapped under the table. It was exciting. When we met physically the excitement stopped suddenly though. AOL chatrooms. Around 2006-ish. The internet moved from being a way to talk to new people to a way to keep talking to people you already know. That's super useful and all. But there was a lot to be said for building friendships with total strangers who you only knew by username, but would still chat to every night. It was part of the internet of discovery rather than the internet of familiarity. I miss it. At times, it was nice to have it be so easy to build those connections. I like your phrase, the internet of discovery versus the internet of familiarity. It's a really good description. This explains why my parents' generation used to tell me, don't believe everything the internet said, versus their tendency now to do exactly the opposite. Internet was full of strange, alien people back then. Today it's of relatives and friends and colleagues. I miss the feeling of walking into a Blockbuster but still appreciate the convenience of streaming. I did Blockbuster's attempt to compete with Netflix DVD mailings. It was awesome because they let me bring a mail disc into the store and exchange it for a free rental. They would send the next disc when it was scanned at the store, so I was never without something. I didn't miss a new release for about 2 years. Yes, the event that was going to a Blockbuster. It wasn't always just about getting a specific movie, open bracket, although sometimes it was. For me, it was perusing the horror movie section when I was 13. The boxes were always so interesting. Then you would find that one movie, the perfect movie, then the ritual of holding it while you continue to look, carrying it home with the anticipation of watching this specific video cassette that you picked out. That was the best. Then, when I met my now wife, we would spend forever debating the right movie to watch. We will pitch our choice and wander around forever until we found the perfect movie for date night. With so many movies available at my fingertips with no waiting or extra cost even, I just don't find myself watching or enjoying movies as much. Maybe it's just me, and I've changed, but I do miss the ceremony and ritual that was involved in renting a movie. Photo albums. My parents have all these awesome albums from when they were kids, and then when they got married, and then from my childhood. I love leafing through them when I'm at their house. My own photos are all on Facebook or Instagram and it's not the same at all. Snapfish, Walgreens, etc. let you get prints of digital photos. They aren't always as detailed as 35mm prints but work pretty well. The first time my girlfriend was like, I'm gonna go to Walmart and print off these pictures so we can hang them up, it blew my mind. I hadn't ever really considered showing off some of the fun times we had been having. Now the house is filled with fun memories. I miss when concerts didn't have a sea of people filming a video from their phone. I remember Paul McCartney complained about this recently. I think when he had a show at the Cavern Club he politely requested no cell phones and someone still took theirs out. Wish I was old enough to experience one without them. Edit. Here's the story I was talking about. It was great. A sea of lighters and slow songs has so much more warmth and glow than cell phone lights. Like many people, I'm often nostalgic for the feeling of brick and mortar rental stores. I can't describe the joy I felt walking into a Blockbuster on a Friday night hoping the new movie I wanted to rent wasn't sold out, and getting overpriced movie snacks while waiting in line. One of my fondest memories was Halloween night when was like 8 and I begged my dad to let me watch the first Halloween. Since he always raved about it, we finally went to Blockbuster, but he warned me it's very possible it would be sold out. I waited in the car with my mom and he came out with a bunch of snacks giving us the thumbs up. I went ducking mental haha. Being off the grid, internet and cell phones ruined it. Nothing stresses me out more than a string of texts in the morning. I feel like I have to check it in case it's work related. Email used to be fun. Now it's just a series of people needing something from me or trying to sell me something. Maybe I'm just an old cranky man. If being stressed by morning texts and email means being old cranky man, then I'm definitely an old cranky man at 26. I'm 32 and I feel the exact same way. I absolutely miss not being able to be reached 24/7. If your phone rings or you get a text, you are expected to answer and will surely get some sort of lecture coming your way if you don't. It was the main reason why I deleted all social media accounts, changed my number, and only gave my number to a select few. I don't like feeling I owe anyone an explanation for anything I do. Only one person gets that honor and I'm married to him. Everyone else can duck off. Reading a book before bed. Now I mostly surf the web until I get tired. I've been trying to break that habit myself. Even with night screen enabled, I find that looking at my phone makes it hard to go to sleep, whereas reading a book wouldn't have that effect on me. But it's so damn hard. I usually end up down some rabbit hole of nonsense on my phone. I simply lose track of time. Artificial light does weird things to your circadian rhythm. Bookstores and music stores. The feeling of walking into a Borders and browsing the eternally high bookshelves can't be topped. Bookstores are actually doing the best business they've done in a long time. After nearly being wiped out a decade ago, small bookstores are booming. Dane Neller, the owner of Shakespeare and Company in New York City, just opened his third indie bookstore, and he's proving the naysayers wrong. Bookstores are back and they're back in a big way, he said. I'm not giving to hyperbole, it was record-breaking for us. CBS News. A good number of people prefer a physical book. I am one of them. Get enough damn screen time between work and smartphone ownership that I refuse to read my books on them too. Plus books are just great little things to have around in physical space, and some people like to browse and pick something random. I'm less one of those, but I still enjoy a good peruse at a bookstore. Would be a real shame to lose them. Journalism. Via forcing a change from subscription to eyeball ad click-based revenue. Get the facts right became get it out first. Unemployed person on Twitter became journalist. Don't become the story became your identity drives your reporting. Be objective became advocate. Newspapers and reporters became brand names. The evening news became the evening 6-hour opinion block. And the total use of sound bites only. Clipping what people say into pieces to help advance whatever agenda you have is horrible. Also things like that crap that Jim Jeffries did. Changing the questions and answers around to make the subject look like a total monster. Yes, I get that he is a comedian and it is not a news show, but it masquerades as one. Nintendo Power. Oh man. I had a subscription for a year as a present. I still remember reading about the winning config in a custom Robotoni. Had an absolute blast reading every one. Don T remember what happened to M though. This weekend my wife and I went apartment hunting in a super rural area that had no listings posted online. We popped into a real estate office and talked to someone there about apartment rentals. They just sold houses, but they gave us a few names and numbers of friends they had that did rentals. One was the owner of a lumber supply shop. So we followed the real estate guy's directions up the street, turn at the bank, go through a light and turn to the right to the lumber yard. The owner was busy, so we spoke with the guy there behind the counter. He said the owner didn't have anything available at the moment but gave us more friends' numbers to call. It was like doing detective work in the 80s. We found a nice place and made arrangements for the lease all in one day. Kinda made me appreciate the days before instant gratification of online house hunting. Reading. I used to read almost one book per day as a child. Now I have a lot of trouble focusing and I rarely finish a book even though I find it interesting. AFV. Yeah, the magic of that show was lost when you could just go into the internet to see funny videos. Quite a few things I could mention. Going to the mall, privacy, etc. But I really miss going to the store to buy an album I like. I loved record stores. I still like buying the CD because it contains artwork and there's just something special about having an album in your hands that you've been waiting years to listen to. Now everything is on iTunes or Spotify. It seems more impersonal than it should. Event planning announcements didn't rely on Facebook. I mean, social media was in full swing by the time I was 19, so I only speak of teenage childhood memories, but I feel like when event planning involved phone calling, texting, and speaking to each other face to face, you really had mutual connection from people who were as into the idea as you were. Nowadays someone ticks that damn maybe interested or yes button or says oh sweet I'll get back to you on Messenger, and that's the last you hear from them until they don't show anyways. And yes, I'm bitter from being on the receiving end of many people doing that. I really miss Minecraft before it was memed. It was such a wholesome game that I honestly loved playing when I was younger. It hasn't stopped being a wholesome game. There's just way more stuff in it now. Shame. People jump on and are just complete duckwords and never have to deal with the consequences. If people had to look someone in the face, they mostly wouldn't spout the shit that they do. People were dipshits back in the day too. There's just no record of it. But trust me, I remember being able to avoid spoilers for big movies. Not having access to literally all the information. By that I mean I love that there is a wealth of knowledge at my fingertips, but there's also a lot of garbage, noise, and information that I just don't need to know. Imagination is dying. It's good for the brain to get bored and wander and think and imagine. Porn mags being randomly discarded in public places. Finding one as teen was like an epic loot drop. My social life. Shortwave radio. Every day and night you could tune in pretty much every country on the planet, and there were even published guides, like TV Guide. I had so much fun trying to tune in stations all around the world and putting pins in my world map for all of the ones I managed. Conditions vary a lot based on day or night, frequency, solar conditions, etc. And you could also write to the stations with a report and get postcards and pennants and other swag from them. It all started dying in the 2000s once the internet meant you could find info about everyone everywhere. I found my old shortwave radio a year or two ago. From Radio Shack, another thing I miss. And you can still get some stuff, but the bands are dead for the most part. It's sad that magic is gone, comma. The Radio Star. Mystery in video games. I feel like playing was more meaningful without wikis and guides readily available. This especially applies to MMOs, knowing the game used to be a really great featuring. The stock market. It used to be a great place for people who could do some quick math. Now it is a game of computers bidding and selling within fractions of seconds and well-dressed guys with connections who hit the buttons. Turns out computers are good at doing quick math. It seemed to me that there was a lot less obnoxiously narcissistic people, probably because before Instagram, YouTube and Vine, not everyone could be famous. The excitement of waiting for a certain CD to come out, going to the store to buy it on that day, getting it home, and listening to it on repeat while studying the liner notes. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.